Happy Sunday, people. Good to see you without end interrupting. Nah, joking, man. But it's been a good run, I guess. You know, I think there's some decent topics, great stories, and of course, obviously, it's becoming my go-to. Talking about the jail. A lot of people are starting to tag me as that guy who's always talking about the jail. And you know what? Call me that if you want. I'm not going to stop talking about it. The thing is, I'm not the first person to go and start raving on about the jail. At what times it's 3:30 and I've been in the jail. You know they people that can't wait to tell you what their jail number is and all that, right? I've never been that kind of person, but I've never shied away from it either. If it's came up, like, oh, do you know Hingway? I know him, how do you know him? Oh, I was in the jail with him. If it comes up in conversation, it comes up in conversation. I'll no hide for it, but I'll also no boast about it. I've never really boasted about it. It's nothing to be proud of. Even if you're highly involved in criminality, getting caught is never something to be proud of. Same time as well, if you look at my type of crimes, I've been in the jail 5 times. 2 instances, there were serious victims. One guy lost his life, the other one was a copper. I wasn't really directly involved with the copper getting badly injured, but I was part of the group, and I'll admit that because I never admitted that at the time. I never took responsibility for it at the time. As much as I say, listen, my regrets, I'm grateful for them. The only thing I really regret that I can't really change is the people that get hurt. But as for being in the jail, listen, I took a lot for it. And that's not because the prison system gave me anything to take for it. People say to me, well, you say the prison system doesn't work, but you've changed, you're rehabilitated. After what, 5 times? If jail worked, then it would have worked after the first time. First time I went to jail was a 17-day remand, so it was a slap in the wrist, you could say. Maybe most people probably wouldn't learn their lesson after that. But the second time, I get 4.5 years. So, listen, even I thought that was enough to convince me. And I'm not criminally active. I've ran about with people that have been in about this and that. I've dabbled here and there. Would never say I was a bit of a boy. I was never selling a lot of drugs. I was taking a lot of drugs at one point. Taking a lot of drugs, but actually selling them, nah, I wasn't great at it. If I hadn't been a chronic drug user, I might have been better at it, but I'm glad I wasn't good at it because I'd probably still be doing it. But everything happens for a reason. That's the way I see it. You're meant to be where you're meant to be. And it's all about having faith. And sometimes in order to establish faith, you kind of need to be presented with some evidence to kind of support it. For instance, me getting into recovery as such, and then I'm seeing wee synchronicities, and I'm going to get this tattooed in my arse cheeks. A coincidence is God's way of remaining anonymous. I heard that right when I first got into recovery, and I can't remember who said it. I can't remember what meeting I was at. I just heard it, and it's stuck with me ever since, and I love it because it's so true to me. But life is life. Life is a catalogue of challenges, trials and tribulations. A less mature version of myself, a few years ago, I'd look at people, even my close family, people who had my issues solved. My main issue was financial difficulties. And I think coming from a working class area, that is your main issue. Being financially dependent. So a lot of your actions are kind of dictated by financial dependence. And a lot of it's to do with, look, listen, I need to get money in to eat. Number one, pay the rent, whatever. I didn't pay rent up to a couple of years ago. I stayed with my dad. I was like late 20s. So I was very dependent on people, which is a curse. It's never good being dependent on people because you cannot learn what independence has to teach you. And with that comes challenges. I thought everything came easy. I thought if you were born into a family with a lot of money, you get a lottery win, all they quick fixes, I thought that was it. That was the utopia. That was what we wanted to aim for. And I've realised, especially recently, man, it couldn't be further from the truth. It's probably one of the worst things that can happen to you. I heard somebody reference a study. I can't give you a link to the actual study, so it could be bull. But I heard a lottery winner and a person who receives a life-changing injury. It was like a life-changing injury or a serious back injury or spinal injury. Within 2 years, they both returned to their baseline level of happiness. I thought, wow. Because when I look at everything I've got, not everybody does that. We always look at the haven't gots. And it's easy to get caught up in the rat race to that, essentially, especially social media, the stuff you see. People have got it. They've got it for a picture or a video. That's as simple as that. People are bamming you up. But being grateful for what you have. Me, I was able to go to the shop and buy a packet of crisps. Now, that might sound trivial to some people. I remember, and for a long period of my life, the amount of times I couldn't go and even afford a packet of crisps. I'd get home, I had no food. I used to shoplift just because I had nothing. Get into the shop and just fill my bag and run out it. Pure desperation, man. Absolutely on my... I was in the minus, mate. I was in the minus to other rank people. Been able just to go like that. I can afford this. And I've been that way. I've been a bit celebratory with it previously. Like, I can afford this, so I'll just go and buy it because I can. And there's great freedom in that, but that eventually leads you back to, oh wait, I need to watch my money now. I've started trying to develop a rule where I don't buy something unless I can afford 3 of them. Which is a great rule, right? Because I want to buy a lens for my camera. I'm not going to say much the lens costs, but until I had 3 times that, I'm not going near it. I could afford it now. But what I like about it, it's a challenge of discipline. Because what I know what that means, now I'm working harder to bring in more money. I'm more actively involved in doing whatever work I'm thinking of ways in order to make more money. Because at the end of the day, it isn't all about money, but at the same time as well, you need to get paid. Bills need to be paid. It's one thing saying, oh, it's not all about money, which is great in a creative sense. It's not all about money. But when a large portion of your time is dedicated to certain things, there needs to be a return somewhere. You can't just pick up the phone to the housing and go like that. It's not all about money. You'll not have a house if you keep that up. Which leads me on to this point, right? This channel, I've got to be honest with you, right? The reality of YouTube for a Scottish creator, I've got 11,000 subscribers, right? You can monetize your channel after you reach 1,000 subscribers and you have, it's either 1,000 or 4,000 hours of watch time. My channel became monetized quite some time ago. I didn't really know how to operate the monetization system, so a lot of my videos would get what's called limited visibility, so you can get no visibility, which means they don't deem it suitable for advertisers because it's advertisers that are essentially paying for it. You've got limited visibility where you'll get some advertisers, you'll get limited ad revenue is what they call it, and then you'll get monetized where you get the full ad revenue. But you don't really make much money after the views. For instance, I think for every 10,000 views, I think you get about 30 quid. And my numbers could be off here, right? But it's not really that much. Since I've been monetized maybe a couple of years now. I think I've maybe made $1,000 or maybe just under that. I don't think I've cleared $1,000. Now, there's a lot of hours that go into this. A lot of this because I'm doing it myself. I could get an editor. Costs money. This isn't really a stable income. And I'm not really doing it for the income, right? It's a nice wee like nest egg you get. Oh, I've got a wee couple £100 coming this month and that. But the thing is, right, I want to keep doing this podcast. But at the same thing, I've got my business here, which pays me money and it allows me to get better at my craft. I want to grow at my business. My business pays me money. So when I'm dedicating time to this, sometimes I'm like, right, there's a lot of time going up the wall, and I need to think of the future, because am I constantly just going to be pouring endless time into something that's not really bringing much of a return? Because let's be honest, right, it's not all about views at the end of the day. When you look at my subscribers compared to my view count, it doesn't match up, which is fine. I do a variety of content. There's reasons for that. I've done documentaries, I've done certain guests. I noticed the guest episodes, they do the best, because what I've realised, right, nobody cares about me. It's not about me. I thought it was all about me. It's no. They care about my content. That's exactly it. You go to KFC, you don't care who Colonel Sanders is. You don't go to McDonald's and ask for Ronald McDonald. You go to McDonald's and ask for a Big Mac, a cheeseburger. You don't care who some clown is jumping about, know what I mean? There's enough of them in the Helen Street one. It's about what you're offering. So I understand there needs to be something offered to you. I'm willing to do that. I've recognised that. And listen, I've got some good podcasts lined up. I've got the head of victim support coming on to have a discussion, which I feel will be quite a powerful piece. I've got Gav Bruce, JFB, who's going to help me conduct a podcast looking into the history of Glasgow gangs. I'm also working on a segment called The Complete History of the Scottish Prison System. There's a lot of research in that one, right? And that's where I found myself. I'm like, right, I'm pouring all this time into this. It's not an overnight process. I'm willing to commit. But I need to figure out ways and means to make it financially viable. I've set up the Patreon previously, and to be honest, it was hard trying to kind of keep up with the Patreon, because my initial idea was you can watch a podcast before it comes out. But there's not really much of an incentive there, because you'll just watch it when it comes out. And see, when you're doing all the editing yourself, you're trying to upload. Patreon takes a lifetime to upload it. By the way, it takes ages. So when you're kind of rushing about, see when I'm uploading stuff, right, and exporting stuff, so when basically I'll film this right in these cameras, and I'll take the memory cards that this file's recorded onto, this video file, and I'll put it into Premiere Pro. That's where I edit it. I basically piece it all together. I take the pieces of the jigsaw, piece them together, and then when I export it, that's essentially putting glue on the jigsaw, so it becomes this file. This video file you upload to YouTube. That takes time. So when I'm exporting something, I'm usually exporting. But the likes of the night, I'll probably export, then go to my bed and wake up and then upload it. I'm not sitting twiddling my thumbs. I'm one thing on to the next. So just try to find the time to upload to Patreon was becoming problematic, but there wasn't really much. Nobody's really bothering anyway, because it's coming out anyway. So I've devised a plan, and it's not going to be popular, but to be honest, I couldn't really give a fuck. You know what I'm talking about? This is my podcast, not yours. And what that plan is, for the YouTube podcasts, for every podcast, guests, Patsy Crime, maybe not the Patsy Crime, I'll explain. With the guest podcasts, I'm going to show the first hour on YouTube, roughly an hour margin. Then after that, it's going to move on to Patreon. So for instance, if I've got a 2-hour podcast, you'll only be able to see an hour of it on YouTube. The rest of it, the full version, you'll only get in the Patreon. Patreon's going to be a £5 a month. That's £1.25 a week. Buttons. I bought a packet of crisps that was dearer than that. So, I understand, right? People have got different financial situations, right? And I'm not here to ridicule anybody or try and guilt trip anybody. Listen, people are not obliged to pay it. But for me going forward, this is the terms of the agreement. If you want to watch it, you can watch a bit of it. I'm not saying I'm refusing to give people content. A £5 a month isn't much, and it helps support the channel. You know what I mean? It's been a long time coming. I need to be making a wage off this, because I'm no flush with money. I'm not one of these people that pretend I've got cash. I've got some money sitting there. Am I loaded by any means? Not. I drive a Corsa instead of a council house, which I'm grateful to have. But don't be fooled by the fact that I've been on TV or done this or that. I'm not loaded at all. You know what I mean? Do I expect to be loaded eventually? Aye. But obviously I need to put the work in to do that. So, going forward, the guest episodes, going to be an hour. And I'll go into Patreon. The Patsy Crimes will be a bit different. They will be, you'll probably get like half a Patsy Crime segment, and then before it gets good, I'll fire it on Patreon. Listen, this is the way it needs to be done. You can get on Patreon and watch it. It's $5 a month. You'll not even miss it out your account. But if you're on Universal Credit, you can afford it. No excuses. So, aye, that's just the kind of path it's gone next. But what else has happened in my life? I've actually been accepted to uni to do film production. So that is my next challenge. I just recently got funding for it. It was a private uni. I had to cough up 17 grand. And I know you're probably thinking, mate, you're asking us for a $5 a month and you're just chanting you got 17 grand for a uni. I applied for funding and I got it. I'm not paying a penny of it, obviously. But it's good. It's like an accelerated course. The campus is like 6 minutes away from my house. So it's ideal. It's on my doorstep. Get access to industry, leading equipment, get to learn the experts and essentially grow. I'm always want to challenge myself. Before I was so egotistical where, for instance, if I picked up a camera, right, and I learned how to hit record, in my head, I knew everything about cameras. So I would immediately just shut myself off for learning anything more about it. Just total ego. And I've realised, man, the importance of mastery is not to ever think you're a master, but just a very experienced student. Because to think like a student is to be receptive to further learning, always be teachable. And listen, when you're on a public platform, when you're getting on telly, when you're making videos, your ass is banging, people are complimenting you, it's easy to kind of float away with it. But if we talk about the fame thing, right, and I'm going to explain this, there's some people that have mentioned to me, are you famous? Or you're famous, right? That's not a definition I've ever given myself, right, before you start slaughtering us. But what I've kind of realised now, right, see these days, the definition of fame has changed. It's not what it used to be. My definition of famous is like an A-list celebrity, multi-millionaire, actor, actress, a Hollywood star. These kind of people, you know what I'm talking about? But these days, you can get famous for a phone. You can be on the pip, you can be on the brew and get famous. Nothing wrong with that. But fame is a lot more accessible for the average layman. It's also more accessible for people that have never really done anything to deserve it. They've never worked at anything. They've just, if anything, the more Jeremy Kyle-esque they are, the easier it is to get attention. And listen, you can see it with people, especially on TikTok. They go on TikTok, they become well known in that app, and then it goes to their head, and then they end up in drama and that kind of thing, and people act all surprised and outraged and it's like, what do you expect? You're putting the backstage inhabitants of Jeremy Kyle on a platform. Obviously they're going to do that. That's what they were doing before they picked up the phone. Why are you so shocked they're doing it now? People love a villain and people love a hero. With social media, see what I've noticed, right? People go off people quite quickly. There'll be somebody that's popping on social media, they'll be getting all these views, their videos will be getting shared, this and that, and then they'll just drift off and go stale. That's essentially what happens. And of course, if you want to go into the idea of content creator, then that's where you're suddenly having to adapt and mould your... That's why content creators stay popular, because they're making videos that are relative to trends. But you get these people that are just known for going on lives and stuff, people get sick of it, especially when you never really offered anything in the first place. People love a novelty, but novelties wear off. So it's always about adapting and that kind of thing. So it's a fickle place still, social media. Me, recently, I just kind of, before I would pressure myself, like, right, I need to do this, I need to do this. I don't need to do anything, I get to do it. That's essentially what it is. I get to talk about myself in a podcast. I've seen somebody comment on my reels, see I make up reels in this podcast, and somebody, I put it on my social media, and some mad guys like that, this guy just talks about himself all the time. Like, fucking right, I'm in my own house. my podcast, my cameras, I've talked about myself I want. There's this expectation, right? I get people messaging me saying I should talk about this and that, which is great, but I need to align with it. I'm no a puppet for nobody. Some people said when I was speaking out against staff brutality in Berlin, I've been on like STV, right, and BBC about 3 times or something now, right? Talk about the jail every time, because when they contact me and ask me if I want to voice an opinion, I'm more than happy to do it. Most people would do it. Even the people who say, all you do is talk about jail. But I just answer the questions I'm asked. I don't go in with like an agenda or some intention of revealing this political statement. I've not really got a political statement. I do have political opinions, but I'm not really too arsed about shouting them from the rooftops. Whereas if I'm asked a question about something that I've got an opinion on, I'm happy to voice it. But some people probably think, looking at that, as if, whoa, putting noses out a joint there. No, really, I'm just saying it how it is. Not every member of staff was guilty of brutality, but it was quite commonplace. Is what it is. That's just, I'm not going to keep any secret from them. Simple as that. But it's great. This is the thing. I get to go on national telly and voice my opinion. People want to hear it. For instance, the other week there, I had a premiere in my latest documentary. It's about drug addiction. People were moved, man. People loved it. And that's another thing I know I spoke about it. People have been messaging me asking, where can I see it? It will not be on YouTube anytime soon. And the reason why, right, I'm not uploading it to YouTube for it to get a couple of thousand views and then just fall flat and die a death. I've put in too much work for it, and not just me, Sean Tolles, the co-producer on it, he's put a lot of work into it too. We're developing it into like a kind of course we're going to take into schools, hopefully jails and that, and get the message out to people. Plus as well, the people that took part in it, you've got people like Tracy Hadlow, whose son died from drugs, that gave an interview, showed the rawness of their pain. People trust you to carry a vision for them. And to not try and do that justice by getting it out to the majority, it's doing it a disservice. So the plan is to take it into like community cinemas and get it out there, almost guerrilla-like. Just get it out there into the communities. So if you want to come to a community screening, we will be announcing them, we're putting them into film festivals. But this is another thing, man. Being able to do these things, it's a privilege, it's an honour. And come on a podcast and talk about it. Talk about myself. It's great, man. But listen, this is available to everybody. Maybe not so much the documentary type thing. Listen, I'd done a documentary by accident, loved it. Loved doing documentaries, I love watching documentaries. But whatever stage you're at in your life, man, you're capable of great things. Your great things in your life and the great things in my life might be different, but they're still great things. Great things are individual. So that's another thing I try and push. Like, listen, I'm not here to go, look at me, bow down and worship. I would say I'm quite modest. Because that way as well, see when people go, you're great, you're doing great and this is amazing and all that, you kind of get a wee bit shy, don't you? Like, oh, come on. Plus as well, there's a wee part of me that goes, right, letting it go to your head is the easy route. But going like, no, listen, being modest, that's hard. And that's more admirable. Because when I referred back to that definition of fame, right, if I'm using fame in this context, I'm becoming more well-known publicly. Fame is like a balloon, right? And what happens is, the bigger that balloon gets, it starts to carry away with it, right? Some people hold on to that balloon, and before they know it, they're drifting up into the clouds. They're going higher and higher, until eventually, it gets that high, it pops, and they drop back to reality with a crash landing. For me, I like to think that I've let go of that balloon. It carried me up a wee bit, just enough, but I was able to let go just in time. And now I get to look at that balloon every now and again. Oh, look how high that's got. It becomes an abstract thing. And plus, sound big-headed. People say, I seen you on STV the other day. The first time I was like, aye. Second time, like, aye. Third time, I know. You become used to it. And that's what I've realised as well. We adapt to things, even the good things. Get back to money and talk about the lotto millionaire. They're back to their baseline level of happiness in 2 years because they've bought all the material possessions. They've paid all the bills. They've done all that. And then it's like, right, what now? And I think this is how all these millionaires and billionaires are all bad perverts. Because eventually, you run out of vices because you've paid for every vice under the sun. And then you enter into that realm of, I'm that rich, I've done all the poor people stuff, but I'm in the middle where I can't do all the rich people stuff, like I can't fly into space or buy an island or whatever. And then you become, and you're comparing yourself, and what they say is comparison's the thief of joy. I heard a story, maybe Joe Rogan talking about it. He knew a guy, and the guy's a millionaire. No, he's a multi-billionaire. And he's like a multi-billionaire, and he was upset because he was comparing himself to his pal who had like 80 billion, and he felt like insignificant compared to that guy. And I think that is absolutely ridiculous. I believe it, but I think it's absolutely ridiculous. It must come a point where you're satisfied, but that's the thing. Satisfaction never comes for these people. That's why they reach this point. I remember thinking to myself, if I get 100 grand, I'd just sit in the house with 100 grand, do what I want, takeaways every night, get a bit of gear. That's what I used to think. I was actually thinking last night, like, if I got all that money, I can't. The fact that I've not got the money makes me want to do things that can generate money and get creative. And as well, being paid for what I love doing. And don't get me wrong, we all want to get to that point where we can get the fuck you money, you know what I mean? We want to get to that point where we can say no to things we don't want to do because we don't need the money. Personally, I think that's a state of mind. I think you can say no to anything you want. The allure of money is tempting, but listen, it's easier said than done. I'll admit that. So, the thing is, right, another thing in social media, and people have mentioned me to talk about this, right, and I was going to talk about it a bit more in depth, but I'm just going to say it how it is from my perspective. Controversial or no, you've probably seen it in social media, there's guys filming Wayne's in parts, quote unquote, which I believe has happened. It's very concerning, right, that you can't really get to jail for that. That the police and the justice system aren't really active. And listen, I was surprised. When it comes to nonsense, the justice system are they're late to the race. And I don't know, see, when I look at these types of crimes, sexual offences against vulnerable people, they're the ones I would think, like, the public are united on. Criminals and the public, is we can all agree, listen, you might be an upstanding member of the public, I might steal motors or carry blades, but I think we both can agree, deplorable. Something should be done about it. People think matters should be taken into own hands. I don't really disagree. Listen, if you caught somebody doing something like that and you were in that position, listen, I wouldn't hold it against you. And for instance, what people would say to me, listen, if I knew somebody was guilty of committing a crime, would I phone the police? No. If it's a sexual crime or a crime against a Wayne and I was asked for a statement, I'd probably get against them if I knew they'd done it. I wouldn't hold back. And listen, if I was to get labelled a grass for that, it's a title I would happily wear if I knew I was in the right. But the thing is as well, see these types of allegations against individuals, it can be very dangerous. And I'll explain why, right? So you're seeing these photos, right? These guys are in this park taking photos of Wayne's. And we've seen the two guys in Barshaw Park, right? In Paisley. They were probably the first that kicked it off. They were like that white and gold dress. They were the first viral guys. They were the first that done it. They were like the Joe Rogan Experience of nonsense in the park. Not on top of it. It's like... we seen these guys, right, and they got arrested. Can't remember what they got done with. They were trying to ban them for all the parks, but they couldn't. And I think they got a bail condition to ban them for Barshaw Park, right, whatever. But then you were seeing more photos pop up, and it was like, oh, this guy's in the park taking photos, but this guy, and it's all people, right, that have had their photos taken. Guys like that. And usually they're either Asian, Eastern European, right? That seems to be the demographic that these people are taking photos of, right? Are all these people taking photos of Waynes in a park? I mean, I'm not saying, right, that the people taking these photos saying these guys are taking pictures of the Waynes are lying, but it just seems it was like every second post you were seeing, you're like, right, come on, somebody's got to be wrong here. I seen one, right, and it was on a beach. I can't remember where the beach was. And the woman's like that. These people acting weird. They're down here taking photos of people sunbathing, this and that. I think it was a good weather. It was along the lines. It was making it to be creeps. And you just saw this group of Asians all just kind of standing about and chilling on this beach. And I'm like, you're right, somebody's taking pictures of somebody on a beach. It's you, hen. What are you doing? Some people are just like that. You can see the look in some of their faces. They're kind of like, why is this mad, weird Scottish woman taking photos of me? Some people really need to get a grip, and I can understand they're hyper vigilant, but this is where people go into panic mode. And then, like, surely, are you telling me there's no white people that take photos in a park? I mean, come on. I'm not saying these people aren't doing it. And listen, I'm not defending nobody here. If I caught somebody taking photos of Wayne in a park, I'd fucking batter them. I've got pals that have done it, that have caught people red-handed taking photos of people's Waynes, seen the photo on their phone and leathered them for it, right? So I do know what goes on. I'm not disputing that. But the thing is, right, people says to me I should speak about it. And listen, this is something that needs to get stamped out. But you need to remember, right, just because somebody's from Pakistan, India, one of these countries, doesn't mean they like pedos, right? And I understand in certain countries or certain cultures, which are very different from ours, that lean towards sexualisation of children and rape cultures and stuff like that. I know, I understand these things exist. I've got pals that are Indian, you know what I mean? I've been pal with people that are Pakistani. It makes no difference to me where somebody's came from, or their families even came from, because most of the people I know have been born in this country. The colour of your skin doesn't dictate what your sexual preferences are. You know what I'm talking about? So, we need to just kind of understand, we need to be cautious, but we also need to be cautious with our own prejudice. You know what I'm talking about? Because it's bad enough when you're walking about a country and people are berating you for the colour of your skin or what god you worship, but then to have that nonce label attached to you, because that's a very difficult label to remove, and people catch on to it quickly. See, the label of a nonce or a pedo or a sex offender is like a lit match in a haystack. It goes up like that. We need to be careful about it. Also, kind of closely attached to this subject, we're on this kind of this theme, right, of sexual offences, which I think they should do studies and they should monitor the length of time in an average conversation, right, before the subject matter turns to sexual crimes or paedophilia, right? And I'll explain why, because how often have you been having a conversation, right, before you end up in the subject like Jimmy Savile? I think most conversations, no matter what you start halfway, it ends up there. For sort of like Jeff, it's like some mad cut. I'm like, oh, right. Some happen quicker than others. I think they should really monitor that. But anyway, so lately, see, because I've been quite outspoken in the justice system and that kind of thing, and advocating for people in prison. And listen, what I'll say is on that, I think there's people that do need to go to jail. Some people are just dangerous, and they're a risk to the public, sometimes themselves. And upon further examination of these cases, we need to be sure, right, this person needs to be taken away from the public. But there's a lot of people find themselves in that position. They're taken away from the public. They're under a danger to the public. You know what I mean? But the justice system isn't educated enough to identify their needs. And rather than admit its ignorance, it just resorts back to the lock them up and throw away the key, and then wonder why they reoffend. And talking about people in the jail not even having an easier time, just being given a bit more empathy and a bit more of a chance to try and redeem themselves and pull them out of that situation. It's a controversial subject, and you can understand it's not a vote winner. You understand why politicians don't say it. But see, the thing is, politicians are appealing to the general public, and all due respect, the general public are generally stupid. They don't have a clue what they're talking about. It's a fact. You know what I mean? The general public aren't made up of experts in trauma or substance misuse. Are there experts in the general public? Yes. Probably a minority if you look at the overall. Overall are working class people working in manual labour, admin jobs, etc. And that's not me trying to like demean them. I'm just saying it how it is. A lot of people are they're stuck in this rhetoric where we need to just kind of punish them harder. Like, people used to get hung. You can't punish somebody harder than hanging them, unless you hang them for their ankles and drain the blood out their napper. It still didn't work. The harder the punishment isn't working. Scotland, we increased long-term prison sentences to over 2/3 serving. 2/3 of that sentence, and you serve the full lot. What that means is the jails are packing, and what you're doing, you're releasing people early. You know what I mean? Your solutions have got problems attached to them, and that's the thing. There's no such thing as a complete solution in life. You just get to choose your problems. That's a bit of wisdom. But anyway, on the subject of sexual offences, I'll retort back to it. I've been contacted by people talking about, asking if I would kind of raise awareness about instances where people are convicted of a sexual crime, usually men, have been wrongly convicted, so to speak. The thing is, right, I'm an advocate for anybody that's been unfairly convicted, right? If you look at, obviously, my big pal Sean Toll, big backer in his case, Luke Mitchell, I've been quite spoken about that. But the thing is, right, with those cases, I'm very convinced that they were unjustly convicted. There's evidence there to support that fact. I'm no siding with anybody because I like their choice in music, or because they're alright to talk to, or they seem like a nice guy. No, it's, of course, Big Sean, I'm pals with Big Sean. Luke Mitchell's probably a nice guy. Don't really know him. Is he somebody I'd hang about with? Probably no. But I'm aware of the faults in their case. So with that, it gives me confidence to speak online, and I'm happy to put myself out there, much to the public scrutiny that will come back in return. But the thing is, I need to be sure. I'm not putting myself out there for anybody I'm unsure of, because it's my neck in the line. And the thing is, see most people that are convicted of a sexual crime, I would say the majority of them probably deny they done it. Listen, it's not something that you want attached to your name. There's no many people that would probably admit it. I remember one instance when I was in Bowman, right? And I was working in the gym. I was the gym pass man, which meant I went down and cleaned the gym and I could work out whenever I wanted. Sometimes protection was done. We would usually just avoid the gym when they were done, because you don't want to be around them, know what I mean? But on this occasion, the gym was getting an inspection. What would happen, you would get like monthly inspections where they would come down and they would inspect the gym. It was just like a health and safety type thing. They'd make sure the place was clean, like all the kind of chemicals as such used to clean the flares were in the set spaces, it was tidy, etc. So once a month we'd need to go down and scrub the gym top to bottom for this inspection. So on this occasion, protection were in whilst we were cleaning it, and I was in the gym, right, and I remember it as clear as day, as if it was yesterday. There was two of them arguing, right, so the sex offenders and the protection cases were housed in the same block. Protection cases are usually mainstream prisoners. They've either owed somebody money and went to protection, maybe been bullied and went to protection, maybe been a grass, stuck somebody in at court and then went to protection. Or they might be in protection because, I don't know, it's not a sexual offence, but maybe they took a liberty, like they robbed an old woman, battered somebody in a wheelchair. You know what I mean? Just to give you an idea. And you get the sex offenders, right? That's nonsense. So they're mixed in together, but you get a lot of like protection cases. They would see themselves above the sex offenders because, like, you're a beast. I'm just here for protection. So they would treat the sex offenders with a lot of disdain. And I remember there was two of them arguing, right? One was a protection case, one was a sex offender. And the nature of this argument, right, was the guy that was the sex offender was arguing that he wasn't a sex offender because he'd been done with an attempted rape. And his argument was, but I didn't rape her, so I'm not a beast. And the other guy's like, but you still fucking tried. And that's the thing. These cunts, they don't see it the way we see it, which is insanity. And to act out in that type of behaviour, right, in my opinion, a part of you must think it's normal. And then if you go into the childhood thing, if you look at people that have been sexually abused as children and they go on to become abusers themselves, then when you look at the psychology of it, they're able to carry out that behaviour because they believe that behaviour's normalised, even though it isn't. It's abhorrent. So the thing is, I could understand, and I'll say I could understand, I'm not saying I can understand and show empathy towards them, but I can understand. See, if somebody thinks my behaviour's normalised, they're going to think, why am I in the jail for this then? I shouldn't be in jail. And then you've got that conversation. So when these people, when I've been contacted to speak out on the behalf of people in charged with sexual offences, and listen, that's the extreme end of the scale. People, there's a full spectrum of stuff. There's some things I agree, you should definitely be in jail for that. Like, for instance, if a 16-year-old goes with a 15-year-old, that's, to me, in the eyes of the law, it's a sexual offence. To me, it's not really. Know what I mean? I don't really think anybody should be got to jail for that. Know what I mean? I think the law needs to be a bit more wittier than that. Surely there's a bit of discretion allowed here. But with some of these people who've been wrongly accused, and my heart goes out to them, I would hate to be in that position. I really do. If you never done it. But I'm not going to put myself out there for somebody I'm not sure. And see these types of crimes, and we're talking about the sexual offences where there's going to be a victim involved, of course. It's very, very hard to find the truth of it. Unless there's like a lot of witnesses as such. It's like, there's a reason why the conviction rate, even the conviction rate, the rate of people got to court is so low because it's a hard thing to prove. So for me, it's very hard for me to figure out if these people that have been convicted are telling the truth. Very, very hard. So it's a bit of a tricky one for me. My perspective on it is, if somebody has been through that, they've been wrongfully convicted, and then they've had a retrial and won an appeal, or they've been through a trial and they were acquitted, I'd be a bit more, I would possibly explore speaking with them. But as for somebody that's actively involved, that's been convicted, and the evidence is kind of sketchy, it's very hard. For instance, right, I'm going to say it, the Conor McGregor case, right, that civil lawsuit where he was accused of rape and that kind of thing, I was looking at the details that were revealed in court, and I had some doubt over what was said in court, and I contemplated doing a video on it, but then I went against that and says no, because I don't really know. Some of these things sound kind of mental, but sometimes the truth is stranger than fiction. And that's the thing, I don't want to align on the wrong side because this is a very, very touchy case. These things are life-changing for both people involved. So for me to feel like I'm taking a side, and it's hard to be impartial in these things. You can try your best to be impartial, but if you're giving a platform to a certain story and you're maybe pointing out inconsistencies in somebody's testimony, then it's unavoidable that you're placed on a side. So with that instance, I kind of step back for it. Because the last thing I want to do is defend one of these cunts in Durang. With Luke Mitchell, I'm convinced he's no guilty. Sean Toll, I'm convinced doesn't even do it justice. I know he's no guilty, right? I'm happy to put my head in a plate for the people. But for people that's... Listen, as I say, if you're in that position and you've not done it, my heart goes out to you, but end of the day, my neck's on the line, and to speak out, and I'm speaking out right now against, I'm making it perfectly clear, if somebody's been wrongfully accused of that, I hope they get justice. But if somebody's had one of these crimes happen to them, usually a female in this case, my heart goes out to them as well, and I hope they get justice. Because end of the day, there's two sides to this coin, where you're getting females, it's got to the police and it's gone nowhere. There's guys that do these things and it doesn't get reported. They're the bottom rung. They're not even on the ladder of society. I think you should get beheaded, in my opinion. And listen, if you might be saying, oh, capital punishment, maybe not beheaded, because end of the day, you could find out you're wrong and somebody's missing a head. But end of the day, the punishments for these types of crimes should be stricter, in my opinion. But that's all I'm going to say on it. You know what I mean? This is just the kind of conversations I've had lately. But actually, I'm realising the power of this platform, and I want to use it in a powerful way. I'm not really interested in chasing the views and just talking nonsense. It's good to do that every now and again. But I want to raise awareness of certain issues, especially in Scotland. If there's people that are struggling, that need a voice, I'm happy to provide it if it's true to my heart. I'm happy to try and help. And I'm finding myself in that position. Maybe I'm getting older, it's the recovery thing. I'm finding I heard somebody say, it's not about what you can get in life, it's what you can give. You can't take what you get away. You can take away what you give. It's what I give, what I help, what I do, what I can do. Some people might reach out to me and not hear back from me. Listen, I'm not on 24/7 call. Simple as that. Sometimes I'm on zero call. I used to feel guilty about that, but I don't. I've got a lot of plates that I'm spinning, and humanity has only recently become accessible to at the touch of a button. We're still trying to figure that one out in our DNA, but who knows where life's going to go next. I just know where mine's has gone this year, and it's positive, it's great. And listen, there's forces at work that are greater than me, that have aided me and helped me get to this position, but I've done it myself too. I've worked hard, and listen, it is hard work. It's probably 80% hard and 20% no hard. Don't even want to say easy. I don't want easy. Easy is lazy. Don't get me wrong, it's nice to get something here and there with minimal effort, but you learn that it's better that it's harder, because it helps you grow. It forces you to become creative, forces you to adapt. I always use that analogy. It's like going to the gym. You put your muscles against resistance. The more your muscles adapt to that resistance, the resistance must increase, or you plateau. I don't want to plateau. I don't aim to plateau. To plateau would to be regressing. And I'm on to the next one. I'm on to the next lesson. So, documentary coming out, hitting community theatres. Keep your eyes peeled on my socials. I'll be broadcasting it here to tell you anyway. Going forward, if you want to catch up with all of my content, my podcasts, Patsy Crimes, there's going to be some good episodes coming, but half it's going to be on Patreon. So if you want to support the channel and support me and help, man, listen, it'll be mad appreciated. And you can have your input on the podcast. I know I've always said this, and it was a get out clause. Right, who do you want to see in the podcast? Because I didn't want to find any. No, I didn't want to find any. I couldn't find any. There's always somebody somewhere that's got a conversation. So listen, if you know anybody that's got a conversation, they want to listen to me, use what I hear them, suggest them. If I like them, I'll give them a shout. But that's enough of me. Have a good night, people, right? Like, subscribe, and don't get wide. Catchies.